global multilateral, realizing just transitions. Welcome to the German Climate Pavilion at COP30 in Belém.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today here at this event. My name is Barbara Buchner. I'm the Global Managing Director of Climate Policy Initiative, and it is my pleasure to be moderating the session today, which is about scaling up guarantees and really thinking about how guarantees can help unlock finance at scale for climate action and for sustainable development. I think over the past couple of years in particular, the discussion around guarantees has really evolved. It has evolved from being a technical niche into becoming one of the key agenda items on how private money can be mobilized. And I'm very excited to be seeing very many familiar faces in the audience today, many who have helped to make this momentum and really make sure that guarantees are becoming a key role in the toolbox of accelerating climate finance. So today's session will build on the momentum that we have seen. We will explore how the Green Guarantee Group, supported by Germany and Nigeria, and the new Public Development Bank's Guarantee Hub work together to move from concept to coordination and from pilots really to scale. So these initiatives do not only aim to make guarantees a mainstream instrument, but also help borrowers access them much easier by closing some of the key gaps and addressing some of the key barriers that we have seen in the market, such as information gaps, but also the lack of technical assistance and cultivating strong country ownership. So these two initiatives, and you will hear more about them in the panel discussion now, demonstrate how collaboration is really taking place. Collaboration amongst governments, amongst public development banks, about NDBs and national development banks, really by translating the ideas that many of you have had into concrete action on the ground. So with that, it's my pleasure actually to invite my panel up, and then we will move after this panel discussion into some brief Q&A if you have time, and in some closing reflections from three fantastic speakers. But with that, may I invite my panel, and I can see all of them here. So I'd like to start with Lars-Henrik Röller, the chair of the Green Guarantee Group, and also of the Berlin Global Dialogue, if you can come up and join me here. I'd like to invite Teddy Mugabo, who is the CEO of Fonervor, to come up here. Rémi Reux, who's the CEO of Agence Française de Développement and the chairman of Finance in Common. Pablo Vieira, Global Director of the NDC Partnership. So please join me here. Wonderful. Okay. And just, everyone has one mic, so this is your mic. Okay, so thank you so much for coming, taking time in a very busy week. Hans-Hendrik, let me start with you first. Obviously, you have been instrumental over the last year to help guarantees get on the global agenda. So as chair of the Green Guarantee Group, you really have built also a shared agenda amongst the different players in the ecosystem. So I'd love to hear from you a little bit what you think is some of the key opportunities for the Green Guarantee Group to turn some of the momentum into concrete action and mobilize actors here.
Okay, thank you. It's a bit noisy here, but I hope you can hear me. Very excited to be here. And want to say a few words, also very honored to be here co-hosting this event with these distinguished panelists. Let me just make a couple of remarks vis-a-vis the Green Guarantee Group, which is the instrument which the German government initiated. Now we have Nigeria as a second country, very proud of that. The idea was at a COP28 really to put the focus on guarantees. You know all the numbers, all the private numbers and the leveraging, which is actually not a new topic. But I think the idea was, what can we do with the instrument of a guarantee? And then we started, the German government and Nigeria, to create this Green Guarantee Group. It's about 100 experts from private and public sectors. And then it has a vice person group. Ingrid is on that one and others. And the idea was to have by this COP, to have some recommendations what we can do to increase the instrument of a guarantee. Now the guarantee, as you know, I'm preaching to the converted, has sort of two advantages. One, it has a relatively high leveraging factor if it's done well, and it's very complicated and technical. But it's also relatively easy on budgets. So depending on how the national budget rules are done, it is not as expensive as debt or grants or direct credits. So that's why the guarantees are actually, I think, something very good. Then we worked for about a year, and we now had a high-level report, our report ready. Actually, we published it in Sevilla, and we have sort of 4 recommendations in it, which I think are also in other initiatives. This morning I was at an OECD panel. They've also done a big study. And the 4 areas are, the first one is the regulation, the regulatory aspect, Basel. It's a big issue, and we are not asking for Basel to be redone, because that's a huge issue if you talk to your finance ministers and the G20. But we have some ideas of how we can use the instrument of guarantees a little bit better in the implementation of it. So that's the first area. The second area is pricing and data for pricing. There's GEMS at MIGA, and I understand that GEMS has just decided now to include guarantees in their database. They have a time series of defaults and guarantee and non-guarantees. But and the time series actually shows that some of the pricing of the risk can be improved. It is not that it's unfair towards developing countries necessarily, but it's just not correct. It's not efficient pricing. And therefore, we have proposed to include guarantees into that database. And my understanding is that that's now going to happen. So the correct pricing is very important, and we are hoping to follow up on that and continue. So the pricing of risk is actually done more efficiently, not more fair, maybe also fair, but also more efficiently. The third one is the foreign exchange, the risk. That's the third area where we have some proposals. And the fourth one is the local ecosystem, which also relates to the PDB initiative, and something else I'm going to tell you about in a second, is how to pool risk and how to implement things regionally in a better way. So those are 4 proposals. We published them in Sevilla, and we're now looking towards implementation of that. I told you about the GEMS. Nigeria has also issued a new credit agency using guarantees for Nigeria. So that's the 4th recommendation. And we're working towards other ones. Today, I'm happy to announce, and Barbara, sorry, I should have said Barbara is also on the vice person group, of course. They have done a directory, the guarantee directory, which you know more about this than I do. It's really the first systematic way to get the 2 sides of the market, a matchmaking, guarantors and products. I think it was launched this morning, Barbara. And it has 55 guarantors already on it and lots of products. And the idea is to have that as a living document and moving forward in terms of matchmaking. So please visit that website. It's the GGG Guarantee Directory. And that is the new thing we're announcing today. And we're very happy to move that forward also going into next year. And then, of course, we're very happy to cooperate with the PDB, which is a similar initiative under our recommendation 4, which is this regional activities, which I think is something which will be discussed first. So So that's a bit my summary. So we've done the report, we've identified these areas, which frankly speaking aren't new. I think many people have been saying this. And the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So as far, as I am the chair next year, together with the vice person group, we're looking for initiatives and implementation next year, like the one we have in Nigeria and others. One last issue I want to mention is the compact with Africa. I don't know if that's an initiative with G7 presidency next year, France. G20 will be the United States. Let's see what will happen. But the compact with Africa, we started something when I was at the German government, the Sherpa, in 2017. So the idea is, how do you trigger more private investment? And I think this is still alive, but I think it could be revamped also. And guarantees could play an important role, I think, in this idea of compact with Africa, which is trying to attract private investment into climate, but actually not only climate, it could also be other things, by the way, but this GGG is about climate. So this is the report. We're done with year one. We have done the issues. We're looking forward, look at the directory, and then we'll look forward in doing more. Walk the talk is what we're calling it, which I guess a lot of us are thinking about. Walk the talk in terms of implementing projects next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lars-Henrik. And yes, I am dressed in green because the Green Guarantee Group, Guarantee Directory is also green and is launched today. So please have a look. Again, I think what we're trying to do with that is just simplify access to existing instruments. It's not always inventing new ones, but just making it easier to access what is out there already. So please have a look at that. And yeah, thank you so much. I think very clear call to go from the recommendations, the issues that many of us here know exist, to concrete implementation on the ground. And I think, Daddy, let me come to you. Very nice, actually, headway from, no, you have to use the other one. I'm sorry, I have been told by someone behind the scenes that we cannot share this. Usually we share, but this time we are very specific. We are in the German Pavilion. So, Teddy, again, we've already heard about the importance of obviously of Africa, and Rwanda, I think, has been one of those leaders in Africa that have just put in place an amazing ecosystem of institutions, a toolbox, and real action on the ground. Love to hear from you a little bit, based on all the experience that you have, on what you see as the role of guarantees in this ecosystem.
Thank you very much. First of all, happy to be sharing Rwanda's experience. So in Rwanda, we do see guarantees as one of the most effective catalytic tool to unlock private capital for green and climate resilient instruments. However, based on the lessons learned and what we've seen, we also do realize the need to have guarantees that target specific market failures. So just to name a few, some of the barriers that we've seen in Rwanda, and I'm sure very common in emerging markets, is obviously the high perceived risk, limited track record for green sectors. And so what we've done is we've created a blended finance facility. So we have a facility called Ireme Invest. It's a partnership between the Rwanda Green Fund, the institution that I lead, together with our Development Bank of Rwanda. And through this facility, we've been able to develop a wide range of financial products, including guarantees that sit within our Development Bank of Rwanda. And what we're doing is, first of all, we are covering gaps such as, so we're covering early stage, basically providing guarantees to support early stage technology or project risks, absorbing first loss positions for SMEs, but also most importantly, reducing the cost of borrowing. I think that's a critical challenge for our SMEs. So the biggest lesson I would say for us is I do believe that guarantees should not be surgical. It needs to be, they should be surgical and not generic, because if we generalize them, then it doesn't necessarily lead to the impact we're trying to see. Last but not least, we've also seen the need to pair guarantees with technical support, which we believe and have seen that it implies the impact. Guarantees alone are not, I believe that they're not enough. When we provide technical support to project developers, pipeline development, because one of the biggest challenge we see is also the slow absorption, sometimes the slow absorption for the debt financing, and that is mainly because of the lack of the pipeline. So just to conclude, at the Rwanda Green Fund, we do provide this technical assistance through a project preparatory facility, again, under this blended finance facility, which then allows for projects to move from feasibility to bankability, and allowing the bank, the Development Bank of Rwanda, to then provide the debt financing and guarantees. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daddy, for sharing a concrete example, but also really sharing your success story again. And I think the technical assistance part, that the need to build capacity in country is certainly, I think, one of the big themes that we also all see emerging. And I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about that later as well. But Remy, let me come to you. Again, I think very exciting developments around this BDB Guarantee Hub that FIX IDFC is launching together with MIGA and NDC partnership. So we'd love to hear a little bit more about what that solution is about, what is innovative, what is different, but also what is your vision of how can it really unlock more capital and more investments, more action on the ground.
Merci Barbara. Thrilled to be on the German Pavilion this morning. Laurence Tubiana is here. We remember back in the days in Paris the role of Germany. Jochen Minister Flasbar was the co-facilitator on finance. Ingrid Gabriela is here, Peter, Lars Hendrik. So I really want to commend the fantastic work made by Germany for a decade on climate and on climate finance more specifically. And I'm thrilled because today and tomorrow this is Finance Day. And so now we can discuss technicalities. We know this is becoming very serious. And we have a lot of very good ideas on our plate, very good reports. I see Tatiana Rosito, so I commend also the work of the Brazilian presidency. You succeeded, we tried, I think we succeeded in 2015 to have the negotiators and the finance ministers go together, and the Circle of Finance Ministers is key for the success of COP30. We have also the international high-level expert group with very good proposals. We have the Sharm el-Sheikh co-chair report, and we have, of course, the Baku to Belém Roadmap, hopefully guiding the negotiation on finance. And there are many guidances on to make progress on very specific instruments. And yes, I want to mention two of them. The first one is after Lars Hendrik and Teddy, Guarantee now will be fully recognized as an instrument for climate finance. We know it's key. We know it from the export credit agencies. We know it's a very, very effective tool to mobilize private finance and turn it into public objectives. And we know it has been massively underused in the field of development and climate finance. So I think this signal the Guarantee Group is sending to all of us is particularly helpful, and I think it will help the new framework from ODA and climate finance structure and crystallize as soon as possible, and hopefully orient regulation in the right direction. And the second innovation, I think, that is in the Baku to Belém roadmap, very nicely and strongly phrased, is the role of public development banks, which is, it was the case also in Seville last July during the FFD conference. So the public development banks, of course, means our multilateral institutions, of course, but also BRD, Fonerwa, the national institution that knows the context, the developers, can deal with the risks efficiently, can finance in local currency. So we have to pay a closer attention and develop a toolkit to fully mobilize the whole family of public development banks that we gathered through the IDFC club, then the Finance in Common initiative since 2020. And I remind you that if you want to mobilize private capital, the easiest way is to issue a bond on the market. And that's what public banks are doing forever. So we should not oppose public and private. I mean, on the liability side, you are mobilizing private capital. And on the asset side, we are also able to de-risk, originate, help investors go where the fight against climate change makes it a priority. So I'm very happy today that we today will connect these dots. So connect the guarantee signal and the public development bank's architecture. And so we will release, I'm turning to Nicolas, we will release a press release today. So to launch this public development bank guarantee hub, I want to thank early movers, MIGA from the World Bank Group providing part of the mechanism. I want to thank Pablo and the NDC partnership, because the idea is to combine financial instruments with technical assistance, capacity building, so that we help as many as possible public development banks have access to financial markets. The figure is there are 550 public development banks in the world. There are only 100 of them which are issuing bonds. So the objective we set within the Finance in Common is to double this number by 2030 and help unlock, of course, an amount of climate investments that would be completely different from what we have for now on the table, and contribute to the 1.3, to the 2.1c discussion to help and ease the negotiation. So the idea is to go from case-by-case operations to a mechanism that would be accessible to all willing public development banks, especially national institutions. Of course, if they satisfy the standards and help make it massive. And that's where the NDC partnership is so important. And of course, we want to attach this mechanism to the country platform discussion. Rwanda will launch this afternoon its country platform. So it's, of course, the country platform, like in Brazil, it's the government setting the policy and the priorities. But to operationalize the country platform, you need a public financial institution, NDBs in Brazil, Fonerwa and BRD in Rwanda, joining forces to link with us and also to mobilize the financial center of Kigali and mobilize local private. With initial partners, please pay attention. I know Germany is having a close look at this initiative, and hopefully others. We need to finance the first tranche, the second tranche, the third tranche. And we hope that, yes, by Evian, the Evian Summit in June 2026, for the, let's say, the G7 plus summit France wants to organize, and hopefully in a G20 2026 or 2027, when UK will take the baton from the US, maybe with the support of the BRICS, we can have a mechanism that it as strongly supported as possible, and that will change the discussion and orient it where we want to go. So thanks a lot for all this.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Remy. I think certainly, the mobilization potential of that hub is huge, just by really using this whole architecture of public development banks, but also going from case to by case to a more systemic approach, and using, again, I think some proven instruments that are out there. No need to always come up with new instruments, but really put together existing, well-tailored instruments.
And the idea is really to reduce the cost of capital. And of course, Lars Hendrik was referring to GEMS, to put more information in the market so that we don't need this guarantee at the time. And we fairly price the risk of emerging and developing countries.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. But Pablo, let me come to you. Obviously, a lot of discussion, or I think what comes out from all this discussion here is also really the need, the importance of country ownership and of domestic capacity. Obviously, NDC partnership, a very strong partnership. I would love to hear from you a little bit how you see both the Green Guarantee Group and the Hub work together. What is the role of TA? What's your role within this ecosystem? And how can we make sure that there's the right capacity?
Thank you so much, Barbara, and thank you all for having us today here. I think this is a really, really interesting initiative that we're launching here today. It's focusing on a very critical stakeholder, and it's provide an end-to-end solution for that stakeholder. And that's what's necessary for developing countries to accelerate the mobilization of finance so that they can implement their NDCs. The NDC partnership as a global coalition has coordinated support from development and implementation of the NDCs over the last 9 years for more than 100 around the world. We have lined up the support from more than 300 partners and mobilized more than $2 billion in technical assistance and capacity building to respond to country needs. Now, we support things like tailored technical assistance, embedded advisors, and peer learning to drive this forward. And the thing is, finance mobilization is not just about the finance. It's about strong capacities, systems, and processes to be in place. And developing countries need a lot of support to be able to set themselves up to do this successfully. So over the years, we have supported ministries in finance in more than 50 countries to integrate climate in economic and fiscal frameworks and improving their enabling environments. More than 60 countries to develop project pipelines, investment plans, and financing instruments, and more than 20 central banks to green the financial system. Rwanda is a great example of our collaboration and is a great example of how to set up that ecosystem that is critical to mobilize finance. And also support to strengthen and the alignment between climate and development is critical, and to strengthen the national ecosystem of actors that will enable the country to mobilize finance, to build that capacity from the ground up. But one critical actor that's missing sometimes is the national, the regional development banks that definitely play a strategic role in scaling the mobilization of finance to implement the country's climate commitments and development commitments, but many times require dedicated technical assistance and capacity building support to be able to set themselves up to do this. So in this way, we've been in conversations throughout the year with IDFC, with AFD, with MIGA, also collaborating with GGG and GAZ to think about this solution. Now, the PDB Guarantee Hub, which is an end-to-end solution that leverages the partnership, its mechanisms, its members to provide technical assistance to countries, and then brings other actors that will bring the national development banks, the regional development banks, their own capacity, their needs, and then mobilize the guarantees to mobilize the finance at the end of the day. So this strategic collaboration leverages the upstream work of the partnership, ensuring alignment between NDC implementation priorities. We're at a critical moment with countries putting forward their latest NDC. So how can we help them implement them is a critical priority. And then establishing support to ministries of finance, central banks, national development banks to be able to mobilize that finance. And then, of course, the second objective is to set them up to successfully mobilize the guarantees that we're working with MIGA on. So just quickly, this technical assistance window will focus on a set of priorities. The first one is strengthening institutional capacity for the PDBs, including governance, risk management systems, financial structuring capacities. Second, support pipeline preparation, to Teddy's point. And also it's transactions design, harmonization of due diligence, enabling PDBs to generate bankable and investable-ready projects or to support others to do it. It's improve impact reporting, so helping measuring, monitoring, and disclosure that will build investor confidence. Then linking upstream and downstream work, connecting national policy priorities, climate commitments with project pipelines that ensure the delivery of climate and development goals. Strengthening in-country coordination and collaboration, including the Ministries of Finance and Environment, central banks, the private sector, so that implementation and development partners could also be engaged in a whole of government and whole of society approach. And finally, facilitate peer-to-peer learning and system strengthening, because we want to connect the different PDBs. We want to connect the different countries to learn from each other. And this includes, of course, the experience of the partnership, but also FIX, IDFC, the Green Guarantee Group, and GIZ that can share their knowledge and their experience so that we can improve the impact of the initiative. So we're looking forward to work closely with all of you, but I think this is a very exciting solution that can deliver very quickly. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pavilion. Again, I think very good to go also deep into the types of technical assistance. I really like going deeper because I think it allows you also to bring together different initiatives. You mentioned FIX. There's obviously the FIX Lab where we're also doing with IDB and FIX some kind of knowledge sharing and helping on that side. The GGG where there is knowledge sharing. So I think it would be a very nice way just to bring together existing initiatives, but really make sure that the sum of its part is larger than the parts itself. So great to see that. We have a final reflection on the role of guarantees and the hub from Kambeta Zoga, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Development Bank of Rwanda. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here with us today, but we have a brief video that we're going to look at, and then we're going to move into the next segment of our part. So if we can get the video, that would be fantastic.
It's really exciting for the Development Bank of Rwanda to join the Global Guarantee Platform. For us, it's an amazing opportunity to be able to use the platform to pioneer different ways of raising capital across a new variety of investors to build on all the work that we've done. As you may have heard, the Development Bank of Rwanda, BRD, was one of the first banks and the first national development bank to actually issue a sustainability-linked bond. And that speaks to our appetite for innovation, our appetite to catalyze additional financing using blended instruments, and our commitment to actually deliver real development objectives around growth, jobs, and opportunity for our citizens. So joining the platform, we are committed to make sure that we do our best to make this platform successful so that it can be available to all other players in the development world. We are also delighted that this platform got to us via IDFC, and it's a good opportunity to really thank the club for linking institutions like ours to global partnerships. So we really want to thank everyone involved and tell you that once again we are committed, and we look forward to seeing more and more players join the platform. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And just for those of you who are a little surprised to hear a different name, as things go before the final press release, there was like evolution of the Green Guarantee, Global Guarantee Platform into the BDB Guarantee Hub. But I think we are making sure that we're going to repeat the new name as often as possible, that everyone leaves this event making sure that they know it's the BDB Guarantee Hub. There's no platform. Hub is the word. But yes, with that, I think we would have time for like 1 or 2 questions before I hand over to our final 3 speakers, if there is any questions. Otherwise, I'm sure there will be a chance also after the event to engage with everyone, to realize it's a very hot spot of the blue zone. Oh, please. There's one.
Yeah, thank you very much for the insight that you have shared with us. My question goes to you. It is nice that you've shared with us about what it is that countries are supposed to do in order to leverage the support that you talked about. So my point is, other countries have already taken lead. They have built the capacity, their systems in place. When is the start date? When are you actually going to do it? So that is what I'm interested in, so that we can also jump on board and get these funds flowing through. Because as we wait, things are not getting well.
We're launching today and we're starting today. We've already started actually, but in terms of having a conversation with us, where the partners are ready to sit down and look at your specific situation. Through the focal points of the NDC partnership, the governments come in. Through the focal points from the national development banks, through FIX and IFC, we bring them and we start a conversation to figure out where they are, what technical assistance is needed, what is the objective in terms of the use of guarantees, and then we can bring in the other partners to the conversation. So we're ready.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Pablo. If there's no additional questions, then let me maybe just do a very brief summary of this panel here, thanking my panelists again. I think this discussion here made it clear that guarantees are now finally fully recognized as an effective instrument, which has previously been underutilized. There's no doubt anymore guarantees are part of the toolbox for climate and development action. Development action has always been. I think what we've heard here from some of the examples that probably structured guarantees can reduce borrowing costs, can reduce financing costs, can attract private capital and help manage risk by really holding, that's currently holding back some of the, particularly the private investments in emerging and developing countries. I think we know a lot what needs to happen. We know a lot what should happen to unlock more effective guarantees. We have a lot of recommendations. We know we need to be less generalized. We know we need to pair it with technical assistance. We know the role of public development banks is critical here. But I think for me, the big takeaway from here is it's really time to get away from recommendations into concrete action. It's time to get into technicalities, from all the issues and the problems we know into action on the ground, into concrete toolkits to mobilize the whole community to really use guarantees more effectively, away from case to case to systemic approaches that really have the country needs at its core. Again, I'm going to leave you with the two initiatives that have been basically launched here again, the PDB Guarantee Hub, but also the Green Guarantee, the GGG Guarantee Directory. Again, have a look. I think what came out from the discussions here as well is that having good information, having the right data is essential to really make informed decisions. And we do hope that with this initiative, we will be helping to accelerate action here. So thank you. Please join me in thanking the panelists for their reflections. And then I'm going to invite Tatiana Rosito. Thank you so much. And with that, it is my real pleasure to invite Ambassador Tatiana Rosito. Clearly needs no introduction to take the floor here.
Thank you, Barbara, and good morning, still good morning to all. Thank you for conducting us through this very interesting session. I think you really summarized well that guarantees at center stage in the toolbox for development and for climate and development finance. I want first, to also share with you, how this the journey for Brazil this year, especially in the climate finance area, and the circle of finance ministers, and the Baku to Belém Roadmap that has been published in partnership with all the partners that were here, actually, right? And extend also my recognition to the German government for also hosting us today and bringing to the stage this question, which is so important for the leverage in the scaling up of climate finance for developing countries. Pleasure to share this last minutes of our panel with Laurence Toubiana also. Let me say that I just checked, and in the Circle of Finance Ministers report, we have 77 mentions to guarantees, to the word of guarantees. And this is including in many of the examples that we have there, including examples in Nigeria, in South Africa, the guarantees platforms. As you know, the Circle of Finance Ministers report, and also it's very much reflected in the Baku to Belém Roadmap, we call attention to 5 main priorities in terms of finance mobilization, scaling up of climate finance for developing countries, including concessional finance and global climate funds, MDB reforms and MDBs adaptation, to this new environment with new instruments and new innovations in terms of their operations and capital deployment, the country platforms, and national, and also in the boosting domestic capacity. Actually, also the work of the public development banks are central in our work. So we are very happy to also, see here partners today as the IDFC, Financing Commons, and NDC, partnership. So this is, central for the enabling environment that we must deploy and continue to implement in the next years. Private capital mobilization, where guarantees and other instruments as insurance and the sorts of credit enhancement will be essential. And it was also mentioned here by Lars Hendrik, and the regulatory area where, included in the supervision and prudential regulation, there are important issues really regarding guarantees. But we also see in other areas, like, for example, in taxonomies, there could be some relationship also, to guarantees. But I just want to say also that in all those areas, we see, guarantees are a very central instrument. I think if we could put in a nutshell the work that we have been, developing and this engagement with so many partners, is that the need for, this new public-private partnership and the way this is reflected in the stack of capital that we have for projects and the instruments that are there for the use, for the deployment by the private sector and the public sector is crucial. And thanks to, many of the initiatives here, including grain guarantee groups and others, we now have, I think, a different environment for that, finally. I believe, and so it's really amazing how to see, in all our spectrum, like guarantees will be, very, crucial, and we incentivize, we encourage in the report also the climate funds to deploy more guarantees. We also specifically suggest that we have MDB guarantees platforms that encourage MDBs and MIGA to do exactly what we are actually celebrating today with the PDB guarantees hub. We also already tie up with what was just mentioned by Paulo in terms of the nexus also between country, and also Remy, the nexus between guarantees and country platforms. I think that there is a lot for us to think in there, including in terms of portfolios, guarantees, issues that will make easier to deploy these instruments, sometimes instead of project by project, depending on the different sectors and the specific projects. And on the private sector, for example, guarantees, but they appear in many areas. And like just refer, for example, guarantees are also crucial for debt swaps, right? Guarantees are crucial for the new securitization mechanism that has been proposed. Sometimes they will get even market prices as it has been proposed by IDB, but guarantees will be crucial. And also, I think we have, and now thinking of our next phase and in conclusion, I think as we, we're here, we cannot overemphasize, I think, how this is the COP of implementation. I think it's very clear, and thinking of the different reports, be it the Circles reports, the roadmap Baku to Belém, that we hope will be acknowledged also by membership, the IH-led reports and other reports and initiatives that have been launched today. We have a clear common vision in terms of the instruments, the partnerships. We have the groups, we have the coalitions, we have all that. And now we have, to start to implement. And I think then it will be, it's actually really the start, because guarantees are complex instruments for many countries, including the case of Brazil. You know, we have, for a long time, we haven't been using, for example, you know, MEGA guarantees for a long, long time. So now, and following up also all the reorganization of, you know, in the World Bank, the World Bank Global, the guarantee platform, this is calling also our attention, but also because we see how important guarantees can be in this capital stack. They will be crucial for, you know, nature-based solutions. We really need for like private, for catalytic equity. It will be very difficult for us to, you know, take from, you know, the paper into the ground the innovative ideas and solutions that we need to be scaled without first loss guarantees, without instruments like that. And all the way building up, you know, in terms of other, you know, guarantees, commercial guarantees, insurance. And, you know, the truth is that our system has not been created for guarantees, mostly. It has been created for loans, right? But now we have an understanding because of many, you know, reasons that were, you know, so eloquently discussed in the panel that guarantees should take more and more a central space in that. For many reasons. So I believe that we have enough evidence and also energy and thinking, you know, in the last year from Paris to Baku to our next stage. And it's our intention in the Ministry of Finance of Brazil to continue to work with partners in specific recommendations related to guarantee. Not least a structured dialogue with credit rating agencies, which will be so fundamental for some of the issues and the capital relief and the incentives for institutions to really deploy in more guarantees. So thank you very much. An honor to be here with you today.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Tatiana. I think we have a clear common mission. It is coming back to the previous panel. We know what to do, but now we got to move towards implementation and really towards operationalizing all the reports and all the recommendations, including the Circle of Finance Ministers report, but with guarantees at the center stage. With that, it's my pleasure now to invite our two closing keynote speakers. And first, I'm very happy to invite Laurence Tubiano, who is the President and CEO of the European Climate Foundation and the COP30 Special Envoy. Thanks so much.
No. Now? Yes. Thank you for inviting me, for giving some remarks. I would like to, of course, especially acknowledge Jochen here, Flashback, because as Remy mentioned, you played an instrumental role in climate finance in Paris. So great to see you again. And I would like, we have a special round of applause for Tatiana Rosito, who has been the hero of the Baku to Belém Roadmap. And these days, we need a lot of heroes, frankly, because things are not easy. I do think that what is really great today, and sometime, you know, over the last 10 years, where we were already discussing 10 years ago about guarantees, it takes so much time to land. But now it's here, and it's no more a niche tool. They are becoming a cornerstone on the new climate finance system. And we see that like AFD, MEGA, IDFC, Finance in Common, and the NDC partnership contribute because that's the right moment to do so. Since its inception by the German government at COP28 and in close partnership with Nigeria since March, the GGG has worked to combine technical innovation and political momentum, shaping practical and scalable solutions. And by publishing its 4 key recommendations, which of course are challenging for the system, in Seville, the GGG paves the way for tangible progress. I think a strong reference to guarantee in the COP30 Circle of Ministers, as you said, Tatiana, so many. and in the Baku to Belém roadmap, that GGG's work is already making an impact. With the launch of the GGG Guarantee Directory, we now have a global public hub, I learned the lessons, that transform fragmented information into actionable knowledge. Transparency, so important, because we never know, nobody knows what really was the right level of risk-taking, etc. Comparability and coordination will really create a level playing field. At the same time, the Global Guarantee Platform, driven by IDFC, Finance in Common, AFD, MIGA, and the NDCP, is setting the stage for a unified operational that can deploy guarantees at scale, aligned with national priorities, and channel support where mostly needed. So now we have a connective tissue, all these initiatives coming together, which of course is so important at a moment where there is so much fragmentation in the system. So it should provide now a more coherent global guarantee architecture. So the task is clear: to ensure that guarantees reach their full potential, unlocking for real private capital for climate action and sustainable development in emerging markets and developing economies. The GGG will continue to serve as a bridge between political dialogue and technical implementation, working closely with our partners to support the rollout of the GGP and the continued expansion of the directory. In my capacity of CEO of ECF, where luckily the GGG, and really I really want to thank the German government and largely too because of the trust, I can assure you that we, together with the GIZ, remain ECF fully committed to supporting the GGG and its collaboration with GGP, demonstrating that even amid geopolitical uncertainty and constraint a budget and doubts in the financial community, meaningful progress is not only possible but underway. In my role like COP30 Special Envoy for Europe, I urge European countries to take the lead in this effort, stepping forward with ambition and resources to ensure that this initiative deliver very quickly on their transformative potential. Let's carry today energy forward beyond COP30 in Belém, as we turn collective ambition into delivery on the ground. By working together across institutions, geographies, and sectors, we can make guarantees work at scale, no more a niche, a central piece of the financial capacity, and mobilize finance, empowering local actors, and driving a just and sustainable transition. Thank you once again to all your partners and participation. The progress we have made today is just the beginning. Together, we can make guarantees work at scale for people, planet, and property. Yes, it took time, but now the moment is there. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Laurence. And can I just say another hero here who has helped us get where we are. So thanks so much, Laurence, for that. We need more heroes for sure. We have one more hero who is going to get on stage to provide his final reflections on this topic. Again, you've been mentioned already quite a bit. It's my pleasure to invite Mr. Jochen Flassbart, who is the State Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Environment, Climate, Nature Conservation and Nuclear Safety. Always the longest acronyms to provide your final remarks.
Thanks, Barbara, and Tatiana, Laurence, all dear colleagues. What I learned at development, all protocol observed, and thanks, Laurence, for your kind words. But I would never had the privilege to help if you would not have asked me to help in Paris. So I think great team at that time, and we did a long way since then. And of course, obviously, finance is still one of the biggest parts, and it's going through all the rooms here. Whenever it gets difficult, finance is one of the reasons why it gets difficult. And I think we did a major step last year in Baku with the new NCQG. And on purpose, I want to say the 300 billion coming from public funds are for Germany the core. This is our commitment. broadened in the spectrum of those who need to provide to the 300 billion, but with no doubt that we, I think, Remy from France nodding, and France and other countries do have the obligations and feel the obligations to commit prominently to this 300 billion. I think it's very clear, because I sometimes hear suspicion, do we stick to this obligation in the core? But of course, with this 300 billion, this will not be done, and therefore the 1.3 trillion is maybe at the end, for what is happening on the ground, the more relevant number. And if we are smart, we might even do better. And I think this is the background why we are discussing about different instruments, how to leverage. And guarantees are obviously one of the key elements. I'm sure everybody agrees, not a silver bullet, but without using this instrument appropriately, we will not get there. And therefore, I'm extremely happy that my predecessor, Jennifer, she is not around here, but she can be very happy and proud that she kicked off the establishment of the Green Guarantee Group. We were in close contact at that time, because I was at development, she was at the Foreign Office for Climate, and I was at that time happy that she started, and I'm still happy that it continues, and thanks to you, Hendrik, and Farouk Yabo from Nigeria, to share this group. I want to be very clear. I wrote a letter. Germany is fully committed to the Green Guarantee Group. We are also a little bit proud that Germany was at the origin of this group, but extremely happy that we are not alone, but more and more are coming to join this group and helping with their experience and their knowledge. Of course, I mean, the group provided recommendations, and they were discussed in the run-up to the recommendations at the HSC in Hamburg, also at the Berlin Global Dialogue, at the World Bank, at the Finance for Development. I think that was a momentum when you came up with the recommendations. And now we have the recommendations. And being a supporter, part of the overall Green Guarantee Group does not immediately mean that we are implementing those recommendations at home. But of course, it should be our endeavor to do so, and to be also mindful that these recommendations are not coming out of the blue, but that they are very well reflected amongst very knowledgeable, you call them wise persons. Thanks also to you, Remy, and to you, Pablo, for highlighting the Public Development Bank Guarantee Group as another part of the puzzle, piece of the puzzle. I really do hope that what I just said before, that we are coming from the think tank work, let me call it like that, the recommendations to implementation. You know it, Hendrik, I would have loved that the ministers for finance at the G20 would have taken the chance to reflect on that. We have the leaders G20 summit ahead of us. Maybe we can do something also together with France and others to get it in there. In all acknowledgement that we have to start a race, and we are coming from a situation where we highly underuse the potential of guarantees. And of course, you don't go from 0 to 100. It takes some steps. But again, as I said, without using this instrument, we will not make it to get the leverage factor that we wish. In this sense, thanks to all the work that has been done under your leadership. Germany stays committed. The minister will speak about it during the second week in many of his bilateral and multilateral talks. So thanks again, and thank you that I had the chance to reflect at the end of this meeting here.
Well, that was it. Thank you so much, everyone. And again, go guarantees now. No niche anymore. Let's make sure we deliver at the end. Thank you.
Global multilateral, realizing just transitions. Welcome to the German Climate Pavilion at COP30 in Belém.